Hey, Beastista here, and welcome to week 2 of the PDPL. This week we're playing against Otto, coach of the Tricksy Treeckos. Otto has been in a lot of my leagues, including like the VDL, and Otto historically has been one of the best, if not the single best coach I've ever played against. They are consistently do really amazingly in draft leagues and make really good plays and have really good prep. So this is a very concerning and tricky matchup, especially because they have one of the better teams. I think according to the preseason power rankings, they actually had the second best team in the entire league. So this is very concerning. And so with that, here's the matchup. So if you look at their team, they have some really powerful things. They have two booster speed mons, or possible booster speed mons, and Iron Treads and Roy Moon, in which Roy Moon is faster than my entire team. So if it gets booster speed, it's guaranteed outspeed, which means it can get pretty much free like tailwinds up and free like breaking swipes and things like that. Um, Iron Treads is not fastest Pokemon on the team, but I would need to have a Scarfmon to outspeed it if it gets a booster speed. Um, they have the other Ogerpon, the water one, which overall is probably a favorable matchup into my fire Ogerpon, with the both having kind of a neutral into our two moves if we don't Terra, and then if we Terra, then you know the other one has a resistance to one of our offensive moves. So definitely a little bit annoying with that, especially because they have solid redirection with the possibility of like Dragon Dance for Roy Moon or Iron Defense, um, Iron Treads. In addition, they just have some really annoying Pokemon. The big other one I'm concerned with is Meowstic with Light Screen Reflect, Fake Out. They did Psychic Terrain last week. It also has some other things like Trick. Um, so definitely really concerning with those. And so, however, one of the nice things I will say is that a lot of the Pokemon I'm most concerned with either are supportive or physical, which means that I do feel like I have a pretty good ability to deal with some of these by burning some of the big mons and or be able to have more physically bulky mons like Kabalion or being able to do something like a bulk up type of thing. And so here is the team I ended up bringing. We start off with Mimikyu. So Mimikyu is spell tag with Shadow Claw. The main reason between that is that they only have one ghost resist, so Mimikyu can do pretty good damage throughout their team. And then Play Rough is to hit their ghost resist in Roy Moon, in which Play Rough is a guaranteed one hit KO onto it if it doesn't Terra. And then we have Will-O-Wisp because, as I mentioned, they have a lot of physical attackers that I want to deal with, and then Trick Room as a form of speed control if they get up a fast Tailwind. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward. We're Terra Dark mainly as a way to prevent them from hitting me with prankster moves, but also it does, mean I don't take super effective damage from like an Iron Head, or I don't take super effective damage from like a Shadow Ball from something like their Poltergeist. Next up, we have Flygon. Flygon is probably of a questionable set here, honestly speaking. We have Life Orb, Terra Bug, First Impression. This is kind of my way to try to deal with Meowscarada or Meowstic. It also is a way to hopefully deal with get the one hit KO on Roy Moon or their Ogerpon. Obviously, the issue with this strategy is that if they protect in front of my Flygon on turn one, or if they Terra out of their bug weakness, it doesn't work. However, I think it's a fun thing. Also, in the late game, if I bring it out from the back, First Impression is going to do massive damage into some of these mons, especially if they've used their Terra already. Other than that, we have Earthquake, which hopefully is not going to be too awkward. We do have two Levitate Mons that we can pair next to it in Rotom and Hydreigon. We have Protect, Spiky Shield from Ogerpon. So we have three ways in which we can click or click without hitting our own Pokemon. However, I'm a little bit concerned with it. However, I don't think there's much I can do outside of Earthquake because I do really need the ground coverage. And Flygon just doesn't have any other good physical ground coverage. And its special damage output was super lacking, especially with me wanting to do the First Impression. Other than that, we just have Rock Slide and Scale Shot. I feel like maybe I should have Protect somewhere on this set. However, I did want all these moves. Scale Shot can do pretty good stab damage and give you a speed boost, which Flygon at +1 should outspeed everything that doesn't have booster speed, which would be pretty good. And then other than that, just Life Orb to get that damage cap with the first impression mainly. So next up, we have a little bit weird set with Rotom, in which Rotom is super, super bulky this week. We got Will-O-Wisp to deal with some of their physical attackers. Pain Split to just get a little health. And then we have Hydro Pump and Electro Web just as a little bit of ways to get some damage. The Hydro Pump can hit the ground mons. The Electro Web just slowly gets some speed control. And then the Will-O-Wisp plus the Pain Split should hopefully make Rotom hard to deal with. And then we have the Rindo Berry specifically so that Ogerpon doesn't really have a chance to kill it, so that we can Will-O-Wisp it before Ogerpon can possibly one-shot it. So next up we have Ogerpon, Heart Flame. So Ogerpon is my plan for my main damage this week. The idea is to pair it next to the Cobalion, and it's fairly offensive, but also fairly bulky. I didn't want to go too fast because I didn't think it was going to be too relevant. So it's fairly physically bulky, and the idea is to pair it next to Cobalion, which is coaching to give it a plus attack, plus defense. And at +1 defense, it'll be really hard for people to deal with it on the physical side. And at the +1 attack, it does huge damage, one-shots a lot of things. And if I Terra on top of that, it gives me +2 attack, and my Ivy Cudgels do even more damage. There are very few things on their team that should be able to take it. Take an attack from a +2 Ogerpon while it's still being pretty hard for them to deal with. We have the low kick in order to deal with the Roaring Moon, because Roaring Moon resists both grass and fire coverage unless it tears. And the low kick at +1 should be a guaranteed one-hit KO on it. And then Spiky Shield just as a way to, protect from like a fake out, but also to try to get a free coaching off on turn 1 if we pair it next to Cobalion. So next we have Cobalion, like I've already mentioned. Its main focus is to pair next to Ogerpon, but also it can pair next to Flygon and Mimikyu. It outspeeds all three of those, gets a coaching boost on them, giving them attack and defense boost, and then they can attack immediately following Cobalion's buff and help get some big damage from those three. The Thunder Wave as a means of speed control. I've been using Thunder Wave a lot recently, so hopefully it shouldn't surprise you at this point. If they have two Pokemon that are faster than Ogerpon, I have the ability to start off by Spiky Shield into a Thunder Wave to make something slower, and then we can coaching and attack the paralyzed Mon with the Ogerpon, hopefully getting the kill before it can move. That's kind of the idea. Because I'm mainly using this Mon for coaching and Thunder Wave, I let it very bulky, mainly physically bulky, and we have Body Press as the main damage output. I decided to include Stone Edge as a means to get a little bit of damage in case they have a Terra Flying Mon or some of their Psychic Mons. However, that move definitely could have been something else, like a Protect or a Quick Guard or something like that, because I don't know how likely it is I'm going to use it, but like I said, the main idea with it is coaching and Thunder Wave. With it, we have the Cover Cloak, so it can't be faked out by the Yustic. Also, so we don't get randomly flinched by rock slides and things like that. Because I think the idea with Cobalion this week is just to make sure that it gets the coaching off or the Thunder Wave off as a support to mainly Ogerpon, Mimikyu, and Flygon. Finally, we have Hydreigon. Hydreigon, strongly debated multiple different items on it, and whether it's going to be fast or slow, or fast or bulky. I decided to go pretty much max speed Hydreigon with Focus Sash and give it Tailwind in order to get some speed control. We just have Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor, pretty straightforward moves, and then Protect. And we have the Terra Fairy because, generally speaking, with the Sashmon, I like the ability to gain an immunity. And so Fairy helps me gain the Dragon immunity. But with that, that's kind of the team. And let's get into the match. Before the start of the match, I was given these Terra types. We see some notable things. One, they brought Floette, which is very surprising. They didn't bring Meowstic, which is huge. They brought Terra Fairy Gardevoir, Terra Fire Iron Tread. So Treads might not be able to get burned, which is a big thing. Roaring Moon being Terra Rock is big, means fighting coverage is completely free into it. It'll be super effective no matter what. And then, other than the flow out being a little weird, the other Terra types make sense. And so, with that, let's get into the match. So, here we are for game one. So, with the mons they brought, and Gardevoir being their only really special attacker that I'm concerned with, I'm really intrigued to bring the Ogerpon Cobalion lead because being able to get a coaching on Ogerpon feels like I should be able to honestly deal with a large percentage of their team with that combo. And with them being Terra Rock on their Ogerpon, I don't think they really have acrobatics type thing going on. And so if I just don't Terra, I don't feel like they have great damage to the Ogerpon. And so with that, I kind of want to lead those two. And then the question is kind of what would I want to be in the back? I'm not sure which mons kind of look the best in the back. I think Mimikyu kind of seems like a safe bring just as a way to have alternate speed control with Trick Room. And I even considered possibly leading it to be able to get the hard Trick Room. But like I said, I think those two seem like a reasonable lead. Mimikyu in the back. And then the big question is do I want like Flygon, Hydreigon, Rotom, and I kind of like Flygon. I think offensively the ground coverage looks pretty good. Being able to have first impression in the back to help finish off Ogerpon, Roaring Moon seems pretty helpful. However, I think that maybe Hydreigon would have been better just as a Sashmon in the back. But with that, let's get into the game. So they end up leading Iron Tread's Gardevoir. This immediately looks like their telepathy on the Gardevoir, and they're going to click Earthquake. And in addition to that, I feel like there's a good chance Gardevoir is probably Scarf. And so because of that, I feel like just protecting the Ogerpon makes the most sense. Make sure I don't get hit by attack. I'm just going for the Thunder Wave on the Gardevoir, making sure I can outspeed with Ogerpon the following turn. I'm guaranteed outspeed with the Cobalion, which means that I should be able to get 2 attacks off, hopefully, because I think I should be able to take a Dazzling Gleam. However, they just went for an Icy Wind. The Icy Wind misses the Cobalion, but it doesn't really matter because I'm Covert Cloak, so I wouldn't have gotten the speed drop even if it hit, and that would have done like maybe 3 damage. And now we're going to outspeed with Ogerpon the following turn, which I'm pretty happy with. They go for the Earthquake as expected, and it's going to do a pretty good chunk of damage to Cobalion. However, I'm fairly physically bulky, and they reveal they are in fact Telepathy as I expected. It does great damage because its Life Orb did more than I was expecting. But here, I definitely think the play is just coaching the Ogerpon, since I should be able to take an Earthquake pretty well at +1 defense. And basically the big question is, do I want to try to kill the Treads or just kill the Gardevoir? I decide I'm going to go for the kill on the Gardevoir and go for the Horn Leech, get a little bit HP. This should give me close to max HP if they just go for an Earthquake again with Treads, and this should be a one-shot if I was to guess because it's Scarfed. They go for the Terrifier on the Ogerpon, or on the Treads. Makes sense because they don't want me to hit it with a fire move with my Ogerpon. I end up just going for the coaching, get the Ogerpon nice and bulky. They go for an Earthquake, which should kill my Cobalion, but Cobalion did its work so far, which is get Ogerpon to +1 defense, +1 special attack, and gave me a position where I get a pretty much just trading Cobalion for +1 attack and defense on the Ogerpon and this Gardevoir. In which we get a crit here. I checked the damage calc after, and the crit ended up not mattering, and so that was just a guaranteed one-hit KO. And we were back up to max HP, and so we were in pretty good position actually. So here I could definitely see the argument to bring out Flygon. However, if they are faster, which they should be, and they just go for a ice move into Flygon, it could be awkward. And I decide because they are faster than my Ogerpon currently, and the fact that they have a lot of fast Pokemon on their team, and I'm expecting something like Roaring Moon in the back, being able to switch out in Mimikyu, getting a Trick Room makes the most sense. And they do in fact bring out Roaring Moon, and they end up revealing to be Booster Energy, and they are specifically Booster Attack, which is fairly concerning for damage output. However, I'm really happy I'm at +1 defense with the Ogerpon, since I can defensively do this both. I decided to just go for the low kick into the Roaring Moon. This should be a clean one-hit KO. I decided not to target the Treads because I don't think I can one-shot it from this range, and just go for the Trick Room to try to get speed control for the rest of the game. They end up missing the Mimikyu with the Rock Slide, which is huge. I think I should be able to take an Iron Head without it. However, this means I take 0 damage, which is massive. And as long as I don't flinch, because I did get hit with 2 possible flinch targets, I don't flinch with the Ogerpon, which is huge, killing the Roymoon 1 hit. If I don't flinch with this Mimikyu, I feel like I should be able to win this game, and I don't flinch, get the Trick Room up, and now I am underspeeding this Treads, and I feel like I'm in great shape. And the last one is Ogerpon, which once again I'm expecting to outspeed with all my Pokemon, so I'm pretty happy here. So because I have Flygon on the back with First Impression, I don't really care too much about the Ogerpon, so I definitely want to offensively target the Treads. And the big question is, do I want to double up into the Treads with like a Shadow Claw or just go for the Will-O-Wisp? I decided to go for the Will-O-Wisp because I don't want them to protect the Treads and just be in an awkward position. They end up protecting the Ogerpon, and I end up going for this Will-O-Wisp getting blocked, and then the low kick going into Treads. We end up connecting and getting a crit and killing. That was a big crit. I did the damage calc after again. This one ended up definitely mattering. If they just go for an Earthquake, neither of these mons probably die, and it probably kills itself with Life Orb without the crit. But with that crit, it pretty much makes this game completely set up. I just go for the Ivy Cudgel and Will-O-Wisp. I missed the Will-O-Wisp. I probably should have just gone for a Shadow Claw because I know this damage calc, and Ivy Cudgel does like 90%, and as we see, it does like 90, maybe even 95%. Their Ivy Cudgel does a reasonable chunk of damage, but not nearly enough. And so here, the big question is, do I want to play around a Spiky Shield to not get chipped? And I decided I don't really care. I'm just going to do 2 attacking moves into it and get the kill. Definitely got a little bit lucky that set. I'm not going to lie. The Rock Slide miss on Mimikyu could have been game winning. I don't know that damage calc. I didn't check it particularly on the Iron Head, and the crit definitely, mattered to a certain extent. I think it wouldn't have ended up being too impactful because Flygon in the back comes out, gets a First Impression off into the Ogerpon, but definitely some big RNG in that favor. And with that, let's get to game 2. So here we are for game 2. So the fact that their Iron or the Roymoon does not boost their booster speed makes me think that Hydreigon seems like a really good lead. Because I think there's a good chance that Hydreigon might just outspeed everything on their team outside of Gardevoir. And if not, outspeed everything other than Roymoon, and then also can't really get killed. Next to Hydreigon, I think Flygon is generically one of the better options, especially since their lead last game didn't really go great. And so we can get the Tailwind Earthquake going. And then I decided to just go with Cobalion and Ogerpon in the back, because Cobalion and Ogerpon honestly did pretty good last round. I don't think there's much else to say other than, just kind of bringing them again makes sense. And so with that, let's get into the game. So they end up leading Treads and Gardevoir again, which I feel really bad about. I'm not feeling great about this because they can just go for an Icy Wind and possibly kill Hydreigon or Flygon with the double up because they should outspeed, and so like I don't know if there's too much I can do other than just hope that Icy Wind miss or they don't go for an Icy Wind and just go for the Tailwind and the Earthquake. I'm really considering tearing bugging so that I have a better chance to take the double up, which because I don't really want to take an Icy Wind plus like Iron Head. And I decided to Terra. I don't know if that was the right call. Like, it does give me extra longevity. Make sure I take a Dazzling Gleam or Icy Wind here. However, I should take both of them no matter what. So I think this might have been a wasted Terra. But like I said, it does increase the likelihood of me surviving something like a Ice Spinner plus Dazzling Gleam or Icy Wind. So I end up protecting Treads, which I'm really happy with because this means that I get Tailwind up and I get a Earthquake off, and they just go for Dazzling Gleam instead of Icy Wind, which is also big, which means I'm not getting speed drop, and we get Tailwind up fairly well. We used our Sash. It took a lot to get the Tailwind up, but I'm pretty happy with that. And we get the Earthquake off, and Earthquake should definitely two-shot the Gardevoir if I was to guess, and we see here that it does in fact look like it's going to two-hit KO. And so here the play is just go for the Dark Pulse into the Iron Treads. I don't think Draco's is significantly more risky, especially since they're probably not going to Terra, and they just go for the Earthquake. This is super free because Iron Treads is Terra Ground, so it's going to die no matter what. And so they either have to switch out or, just accept the double knockout. So I end up Dark Pulsing into the Treads, which does massive chunk damage, definitely enough in which Flygon should be able to get the double knockout with Earthquake here, in which we do get the double knockout. So definitely feeling pretty good. We're up 4-2. However, they likely are going to be faster than me once Tailwind expires, so I definitely need to get a pretty good chunk of damage before Tailwind is over. So they bring out the Ogerpon and the Roaring Moon, which kind of more or less what I expected. These are the same four they brought in game 1. And so here, the idea is just we want to get some damage before Tailwind's up, and then hopefully sweep with the Cobalion and Ogerpon on the back. So here, we definitely want to Draco into one of these just to get the most damage possible, and then I consider Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Scale Shot. All of them make sense. Scale Shot, kind of just stab damage that hits both of them for neutral no matter what, and gives me a speed boost for after Tailwind is up, and which means I should outspeed them after Tailwind. And then Earthquake just kind of plays around the possibility of them just going for like a Follow Me, and then Rock Slide also does that to hit both of them, and it also gives me random flinch chances, which could be big. And I end up deciding to just go for Earthquake, which is the 100% accurate move in the Draco meter. They end up protecting Roaring Moon, which definitely makes me feel sad about clicking the Earthquake. However, they also just protect the Ogerpon, which means that my plays didn't end up mattering too much. This, however, definitely a little bit sad to actually, nah. So, and with this, the double protect ends up meaning that we just have one more turn to Tailwind, and hopefully we should be able to get a pretty good chunk of damage, maybe even get a kill before the end of the turn. So last turn of Tailwind, we want to kill something as best we can, so we're just going to go for the Draco Meteor, which should pretty likely kill something. And considering the Earthquake does really good if Roaring Moon's Terras. If it doesn't Terra, then it does pretty awkward damage. And so I decided to just go for the Dragon move. They end up following me, which makes sense. We go for the Draco into that spot, and we missed the Draco, which is super sad. Maybe I should have just gone for Dark Pulse to make sure we get a hit. And we end up hitting with Scale Shot, getting 2 hits with it, and no more. This is every time I've practiced with this move so far, I've only hit it twice. So I definitely question whether it could hit more than 2 times with this move. And so definitely a little sad because I got pretty much 0 damage from Hydreigon and the minimum number of damage from a connected move with the Flygon. However, we're not in terrible shape since we do have 2 Mons in the back. Definitely a little bit annoying though, with our Tailwind going down there. And so we just bring our last 2 Mons, and we'll get to see if we get the if we're there enough to go through this. Bring out the Ogerpon and Cobalion, and so here we definitely want to just probably protect Ogerpon. I'm not sure if I'm faster or not with Roaring Moon. We never saw this. There's a chance that Cobalion outspeeds it, but not guaranteed. And this is super stressful because I'd like to body press into the Roaring Moon, do a cute chunk of damage, or Thunder Wave into one of these 2 Mons to get speed control, but they both sound really good. I definitely feel like just protecting it in front of the Roaring Moon makes sense to prevent Rock Slides from doing chunks of damage and possibly being able to kill the Ogerpon or paralyze one of these 2 Mons before the turn. I decide to just go for the body press into the Roaring Moon and go for the protect. They end up Terror Rocking there, which I guess makes sense to just try to get the most damage with the Rock Slides, try to kill my Ogerpon. They end up following me with their Ogerpon, which I think is okay because they just go for a Rock Slide, which I'm really happy with since I 4 times resist that with the Cobalion, and because I have Cobra Cloak, I'm guaranteed not to flinch, which makes me feel really good about this decision. We see that we end up critting with the body press, which 100% mattered at that damage calc. That was massive. Obviously I might have been able to kill it next turn with the body press. However, this turn now I just go for the double up with Horn Leech and body press. This should kill if I don't get flinched with the Ogerpon. They end up doing a pretty good chunk of damage with the Rock Slide. However, I can't flinch with the Cobalion, means I get a body press, which is really good. I should be able to kill next turn. And I flinch with the Ogerpon, which is really sad. And so here, the safe play is just go for the double up, attack with both Pokemon, because I don't think there's a way they can kill both of my Pokemon with a single attacking move. However, they might have a way to kill just Cobalion if I protect the Ogerpon, so I don't want to risk that and just go for the double up. However, at this point, I'm feeling really good. I expect them probably just to go for a Rock Slide, hope to get the flinch, and then maybe try to kill with the Cobalion. The only thing I think that has a chance would be an Earthquake here, which would be somewhat stressful. However, I think I might be able to survive. My Cobalion is really defensively bulky, but we'll see. So here we just go for the double up again. Like I said, same idea. They end up going for a Rock Slide, but at this point, I know I won the game because I cannot be flinched with Cobalion, and I'm feeling great. So with this, we should be able to get the body press to get the clean kill and win the game. So this was super surprising. I was not expecting this to go as smoothly as it did. Obviously, I had massive luck in both games. Don't know how much those would have impacted the end result, because I do think Cobalion could 1v1 this Roaring Moon in the end game, because they actually revealed the set to me later. They only have Dark and Rock moves, and so which means that Cobalion just does not take much damage at all from that thing, and I can't be flinched. And so I think I probably could have won this match even without that crit on the Ogerpon. However, it's really hard to say, and I definitely feel like I got lucky to be able to beat Otto with this. And like some of this game one luck ended up maybe not deciding the match, but hiding a fair amount of information, which helped me in which Otto made uninformed decisions in later game. So definitely really happy about this. A great start of the season, starting off 2-0 on the season and then winning both of them 2-0. You know, Otto is always a pleasure to play you. It was a great match, and I hope you do well. But with that, I hope you enjoyed the match. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you all next time.